Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining our webinar, The Power of Omega-3s Fueling Your Health. I am Marta Heumann, a registered dietitian and Wegmans Nutritionist, and I am excited to be moderating today's webinar. Please note that the information provided during today's webinar is for educational purpose only and is not intended as a substitute or replacement for medical advice, medical nutrition therapy, or individualized nutrition counseling. I will be rejoining you at the end to moderate our Q&A. And now I'm pleased to introduce your presenter, my terrific coworker, Brittany Reynolds. Take it away, Britt.
Thank you, Marta, and welcome everybody. I was just thinking, as dietitians, we tend to get excited when given the opportunity to share about a specific nutrient, and today that spotlight is on omega-3s. We hear a lot about omega-3s, but how exactly does this nutrient impact your health, and are you getting enough? What are some ways you can add more omega-3s into your diet, whether that might be from land or sea? So let's dive in. So to start, and to best really understand what omega-3s are, we first need to review a few facts on fat. So for starters, fat is an important macronutrient, meaning it provides our body's energy from the calories that we consume, and it's essential for maintaining good health. Fat protects your organs, it supports cell growth and nerve transmission in our brain, it helps with really vitamin absorption, and is the key building block for hormones. Now, as you see here, there are two main kinds of dietary fat, saturated and unsaturated fat. And this is where choice and quality matter. Saturated fat, the type of fat we should limit in our diets, is solid at room temperature and found in foods such as butter, fatty meats, high-fat dairy products, and fried or baked goods. Research shows that diets high in saturated fat raise our bad, or that LDL, cholesterol, and can increase the risk of heart disease. But on the other hand, unsaturated fats, those are found in foods such as fish, nuts, avocados, seeds, tofu, plant oils. They can support lowering bad cholesterol and the overall risk of heart disease. So unsaturated fats provide the essential fat your body needs, but they can't produce on its own. So when it comes to fat, where do omega-3s come into play? Now, I just shared two main types of fat, saturated and unsaturated, with the recommendation to choose food sources that contain primarily unsaturated fats in your diet. And looking closer, there are two types of unsaturated fat, monounsaturated and polyunsaturated, with omega-3s being classified as a polyunsaturated fat. They have a unique molecular structure that makes them very fluid. And this special structure, it plays a crucial role in our health, but more on that in just a moment. As you can see here, omega-3s actually refer to a whole family of fatty acids. There are actually several, but most of the science and research focus on the three here. So at the top of that family tree is alpha-linoleic acid, or ALA. It's the most common source of omega-3 in the American diet, and that's a good thing since our bodies must get ALA from food. Now, other types of omega-3s include EPA and DHA, but at the risk of sounding too much like I'm now teaching a science class, I'm going to pause here and we'll circle back around to each type of omega-3 in just a moment. The main takeaway is that omega-3s are a family of fatty acids, a type of polyunsaturated fat, the healthy fat we should be including in our diet. So remember I just shared that omega-3s have a special fluid-like structure? This is key as they are part of the makeup of every cell in our body and play an important role in keeping your heart, lungs, your blood vessels, immune system, all working the way they should. And not only does your body need omega-3s to function, but it also gets tons of health benefits from them. So the strongest evidence is linked with heart health. Regular consumption of omega-3s is associated with a lower risk of heart disease and stroke. Omega-3s are needed to support electrical signals that help maintain a slow, steady heartbeat. They're also known to support cardiovascular health by lowering triglycerides, slightly reducing blood pressure, and supporting the prevention of blood clots. Now, here's a good bit of trivia for you. 60% of the brain is fat, and half of that fat is omega-3. So it's really important to brain health. I like to think of omega-3s are to brains as calcium is to our bones. They contribute to cognitive function and may actually help reduce the risk of cognitive decline as we age. Now, some studies suggest that omega-3s can also lessen symptoms of depression and anxiety. Omega-3s are also important to eye health, with the highest concentration of omega-3s being found in the retina of our eye. An adequate intake may help prevent vision problems such as age-related macular degeneration, which is a visual impairment and blindness risk that can increase with age. Omega-3s have also been shown to reduce inflammation in the body, which may help manage conditions like arthritis and other inflammatory diseases. I'd say the health benefits of omega-3s are pretty impressive. Now, as I shared, there are 3 primary sources of omega-3 types: ALA and DHA. I'll provide some specific food examples on the next slide, but these 3 types vary in their structure and how the body uses them. So, for example, ALA is an essential fatty acid, meaning the body cannot make ALA on its own. We need to consume them through foods or supplements, and they're found in plant foods like walnuts, soybeans, flaxseed, whereas EPA and DHA are classified as non-essential. But I think that's important. It's not to be confused with not important. In this nutrition context, non-essential simply means our body can make these important fatty acids. However, the process is not very efficient. So while our body can convert some ALA into EPA and then DHA, it only does so in very small amounts and really not enough to support your body's needs. Remember what I just said about the brain being composed of about 60% fat? Almost all of that is DHA. But some studies have shown that the body can only convert less than 5% of the ALA we consume to DHA. So EPA and DHA is found in seafood and marine algae, such as seaweed, like marine plants, microalgae. And a fun fact is at the bottom of the marine food chain, this is what fish eat to get their EPA and DHA intake. In return, when we consume fish in our diets, that's how we obtain these awesome omegas. And sometimes you'll see food packages that list a total amount of omega-3s in one serving. So for example, here on the screen, I have a package of walnuts. They may claim that one serving has 2,500 milligrams of omega-3s, and a package of salmon, they're also shown, might state that a 3-ounce cooked portion has 1,800 milligrams of omega-3s. So from the sound of that, it sounds like walnuts would probably provide the body with the most amount of omega-3s. But again, remember that the body can only convert a small amount of ALA to DHA. The ALA from walnuts would probably provide a lot less DHA to the body than a smaller piece of salmon. But rather than focusing on the exact milligrams or grams a food provides, let's take a look at some common foods that omega-3s provide. Starting here with a list of foods that contain ALA. Again, the type of omega-3s from plant sources. So we have ground or milled flax seeds, walnuts. These are often some more of the more well-known sources, though chia seeds, hemp seeds, soybeans, tofu, they're all additional examples. Canola oil, navy beans, and avocados also contain ALAs. And even our veggies, while they're lower in amount, like zucchini, broccoli, spinach, Brussels sprouts, they're all common food sources of ALA, omega-3s. Whereas the next column there, EPA and DHA, are primarily found in seafood, especially higher amounts in fatty or oily fish, such as salmon, mackerel, and anchovies. And then you'll note here the purple letters there spell out SMASH. That's an acronym to help you remember fatty fish sources that are high in omega-3s. Though maybe you're not a fan of salmon or putting anchovies on your pizza. Not to worry. We certainly encourage folks to enjoy a variety of seafood, whether that's cod, trout, shrimp, tilapia, because all fish contain omega-3s, just in varying amounts, with, again, the smash fish being the recommended go-to for really loading up on those healthy omega-3s. And although it's a plant, as I mentioned, marine algae also contains EPA and DHA. And algae has been a part of diets in different parts of the world for centuries, seaweed being one of the more common types of edible algae. But there's other types, nori, wakame, and kelp, commonly used in different Asian cuisines. For example, nori is often used in sushi or seaweed snacks, while wakame is popular in different salads and soups. And while omega-3s are found naturally in foods, there are also many common foods that may be fortified or enriched with omega-3s, meaning that they're added to a food, making it easier to incorporate them into our diets. So some certain brands of dairy products, such as yogurt or milk, can be enriched with ALA, EPA, or DHA. Juices, breads, and cereals are other examples. And then on the slide here, there's a photo of our Wegmans brand organic egg that contain 125 milligrams of ALA per egg. So I've highlighted the types, the benefits, and some common food sources, but how much omega-3 should you be consuming? Now keep in mind, the recommended daily intake of omega-3, it varies based on individual health needs and different life stages, pregnancy, for example. Well, there is not enough conclusive data available to work out a formal recommended daily allowance of omega-3s for healthy adults. However, several different health organizations like the American Heart Association, the National Academy of Medicine, they recommend an adequate intake of 1.1 grams per day of ALA for females, and for males, 1.6 grams per day of ALA. Now, most folks consume this recommended amount of ALA from just various food sources in your diet. But you might be thinking, what does this look like? Well, I looked some numbers up, and according to the USDA National Nutrient Database for Standard Reference, which is quite the title, 1/2 cup of chopped walnuts contains 1.6 grams of ALA, and 1 tablespoon of canola oil contains roughly 1.3 grams of ALA. Not that you'd necessarily consume an entire tablespoon, but thinking of incorporating that with cooking and salad dressings, for example. And a 1 ounce serving of chia seeds contains a whopping 5 grams of ALA. Now, there's also no specific recommendation for daily allowance of EPA or DHA. However, again, the American Heart Association recommends consuming at least 8 ounces or 2 4-ounce servings of fish per week, preferably fatty fish, again, to obtain higher amounts of omega-3s. This amount is what provides an average of 250 milligrams per day, and the recommendation to eat fish twice a week is based on health benefits of omega-3s that are needed for the body. But despite the recommendation, some reports suggest only 1/4 of Americans consume that 2 servings of fish per week, and just a low 7% of our youth meet that recommendation. There's definitely opportunity for many of us to increase our seafood consumption. And how can you determine if you're getting enough? Well, there are some definitive methods such as blood tests, but for the majority of folks, simply following the recommendation of consuming 2 servings of fish each week and incorporating a variety of foods that contain ALAs ensures you're getting enough. But if you're concerned, it is obviously best to discuss that with your doctor. Which is a great segue into this slide, because when chatting about specific nutrients and intakes such as omega-3s, folks will often have questions if they're getting enough, and the discussion of supplements come up. Or as dietitians, we sometimes might hear folks say, I don't like eating fish, but I know it's good for me, so I'm taking a supplement instead. Well, there are so many varieties of omega supplements, all kinds of brands, all kinds of claims, and frankly, all kinds of price points too. So I can understand it might feel overwhelming if you're deciding, is an omega supplement right for you? But here's what I must emphasize. If you're interested in taking an omega-3 supplement, or truly any supplement for that matter, please speak with your doctor or pharmacist first. Omega-3 supplements can interact with certain medications, So it's very important that you have that conversation before starting a new supplement. But let me briefly pass along some basic information around omega-3 supplements, including the 3 primary sources of omega-3 supplements, each with different uses, different effectiveness, starting with fish oil, which is derived from, yes, fatty fish. It is the most common omega supplement source available in liquid, capsule, and pill form. Then there's algal oil, which is derived from algae. This is a vegetarian source of DHA and could be an option for those who do not or cannot consume fish. And then thirdly, flaxseed oil. It's a popular plant-based omega-3 supplement that contains ALA. And some folks might ask if there's a concern for too much or excess, especially if you're taking a supplement in addition to an adequate diet. And the short answer is yes. Taking too much may cause uncomfortable GI symptoms such as upset stomach or nausea, or may increase your risk of bleeding. So while omega supplements might be right for you, for the sake of this webinar, I will say again, it's important to have a conversation with your doctor who can give tailored advice based on your needs and medical history. But in the meantime, our nutrition team encourages focusing on foods first and your overall pattern of eating, because when we zoom out, foods containing omega-3s, like seafood, for example, provide nutrients, but just beyond omegas that are really beneficial for health, like protein, vitamins and minerals like vitamin D, zinc, and iron as well. So let's briefly go fishing for some omegas, starting with a tasty salmon example. Now, I know some folks are looking for meals that do not include salmon, so just bear with me for a moment, and I'll share some other great ideas next. But I'd like to highlight our Make It or Take It Chipotle Honey Salmon. Our Gold Pan meals, they're really perfect for busy nights, or if you're looking to try a new item, specifically seafood here, without the prep and cleanup and ingredient guessing. This salmon example is paired with a chipotle and honey glaze that when it's popped in the oven just caramelizes as the fish cooks. And then you can finish it there with that spritz of lime. And enjoying this tasty dish with your favorite veggie on the side for a boost of nutrients as well. Or you can make it. Our chipotle honey salmon and asparagus recipe that's found on our website or app makes a sweet and spicy salmon with crispy asparagus. And I love it because it bakes up with just a sheet pan and that chipotle honey make it yourself marinade. So I enjoy keeping a family pack of our frozen salmon fillets in stock at home. They're individually wrapped and frozen, so these affordable portions help our family get more seafood onto the table. And just to highlight a few different seafood recipes, all of which can be found on Wegmans.com or on our Wegmans app just by searching seafood. First is the pan-seared haddock, using a tasty basting oil that we have and a pan-seared cooking method. Really, that helps get this fish cooked to perfection. It's a customer favorite haddock recipe and a dinner win with minimal effort. Then in the middle there's our black pepper shrimp stir fry. This is a quick and savory dish. It combines shrimp and lo mein. It's ready in just 25 minutes. And again, add your favorite veggies to boost both flavor and nutrients. And then thirdly, the cod French. This is again a popular recipe on the website. They're cod fillets, really cooked to perfection, served with a delicious lemon sauce. And I think if you're looking to gain more confidence in cooking seafood at home, be sure to visit Wegmans.com for cooking techniques such as that pan searing. We have a great video that walks you through the pan searing technique. We love this cooking method. It enhances flavor. It gives fish a nice crispy crust, but keeping that inside tender and flaky. So it's fast compared to other cooking methods. I think it's user-friendly, and it can be used with a variety of different fish types as well. And while the heavy hitter for omega-3s is really seafood, I'd like just to leave you with a few additional small practical ways to help you get more omega-3s into your day, starting with boosting your breakfast. So maybe that's by stirring some ground flaxseed or chia into yogurt, oatmeal, smoothies, or overnight oats. You can also sprinkle both into salads or grain bowls. It adds a nutty flavor and a nutrient boost. Maybe try tossing canned salmon or tuna just into your greens or your salad. Mix a canned fish with celery, red onion, dill, a favorite Greek yogurt, and lemon juice. This creates a tasty fish salad that can be used in wraps, salads, different sandwiches, or crackers. And then thanks to Gen Z folks, we're having a cultural moment here with sardines. This tinned little fish is affordable. So go ahead and try a fun viral sardine snack plate with oven-baked sardines surrounded by pickles, tomatoes, or hard-boiled eggs are a few things I spotted. I think incorporating walnuts into your baking, your salads, or just as part of a balanced snack, another great way to boost that omega intake. You can snack on dry seaweed or edamame. Maybe those are new to you snacks, but something to try. Or enjoy chia pudding as a sweet treat. And since canola oil has a higher smoke point than, say, olive oil, try it when using high heat cook methods such as saute or baking. You can use other oils such as flaxseed to drizzle on top of salads or finished dishes to give it a nice flavor as well. And then lastly, I would be remiss not to share with you folks our wonderful nutrition resources found on wegmans.com/feel your best, including our growing library of on-demand nutrition webinars, our healthy eating guidelines that incorporate seafood, and of course, so much more, and a whole body health section that links other great resources to heart health and really additional information specific to brain health if that interests you. And I think with that, Marta, I would love to join you back to hear if we have any questions from folks.
Hi there, absolutely. We've got some questions. The first one we have in the chat here is, you mentioned that broccoli and spinach were good for omega-3s. What was the third one you had on that slide? I can't remember.
Sure, I had broccoli, spinach, Brussels sprouts, leafy greens, again, all containing varying amounts, obviously less than some of the other, plant sources like flaxseed and walnuts. But yeah, interesting that those veggies contain some amounts of ALAs as well.
Great, thanks. Okay, so another question we got is, do you get the same benefits from eating foods with omega-3s added to them as you would from just eating fish?
Okay, the same benefits, yeah. So I like this question, and off the top of my head, because I mentioned it there on the slide, I'm thinking of our Wegmans brand organic eggs with omega-3s, just as an example. And this is probably an important question if you're someone who can't eat or truly doesn't care for fish. So in this case, specifically, the hens are fed a vegetarian diet like flaxseed, which is high in omega-3s. And then in turn, just like us, the hens that take in more omegas end up with more of these nutrients in their fatty acids in their tissues, including the egg. But when we consume foods fortified or enriched with omega-3s, I think there are a couple things we want to keep in mind. One is how much you're getting, since the amount can vary probably from brand to brand and one product to the next. I'm thinking, again, with eggs enriched with omega-3s, they can range anywhere from 100 milligrams per egg up to 500 milligrams per egg. But then secondly, keep in mind the type of omega-3 you're getting. So just to review, when you hear or see omega-3s, it's actually that whole class or family of fatty acids with flax seeds, chia seeds, hemp, those omega-3 eggs containing ALAs. And the omega-3 fat we get from seafood is going to be far more biologically available. That's a big word, but it just means that our bodies can use it directly without it needing to be modified first. So I think to sum up my answer to that question, the benefit of omega-3s that you get from fortified foods, really compared to seafood specifically, one is likely going to be a modest amount, and two depends on the type. Probably will not have as much as a health promoting effect as obtaining our omega-3s from seafood.
Great. That was a very detailed answer.
Yeah.
So lots of people worry about mercury in fish and seafood. Is that something that we should be concerned about when we're trying to get more omega-3s?
Sure. And another great question, and actually obviously makes sense that this would pop up in the context of omega-3s. And as I've probably said salmon a dozen times, and just again, recommending and encouraging you to increase or include fish in your regular pattern of eating. In general, if you follow the guidelines of 2 servings per week, fish consumption is safe for everyone, actually including pregnant people and children. There's some evidence that the benefits of eating fish definitely outweigh the risk of mercury exposure when it comes to brain development. So of course, if you're pregnant, this is a conversation you'd want to review with your doctor. And if you eat a lot of seafood, the consumption guidelines would probably recommend that your diet has a healthy balance of low mercury fish. So some of those examples of seafood that are lower in mercury would be salmon, shrimp, haddock, cod, canned light tuna. It's really the large predatory fish such as shark, marlin, swordfish, those types that typically have higher concentrations of mercury. But in short, for most adolescents and adults, there's no mercury concern, health-related concern associated with eating a normal diet of seafood. And as I mentioned, those numbers of lower, folks that meet that 2 serving recommendation a week of seafood, we certainly don't want these things to trip us up if we're looking to incorporate more seafood into our diet.
Gotcha. Okay. Now someone has diabetes and they're asking whether omega-3 affects their blood sugar levels, or in general, do they help manage diabetes? Do omega-3s help diabetes?
Sure. Great question if you want to chime in as well, but to my best knowledge, there's not enough evidence to fully support that omega-3 consumption significantly lowers any risk of developing diabetes or improving blood sugar or glucose control. And I'm pretty sure the American Diabetes Association does not obviously universally recommend omega-3 supplements for folks living with diabetes, but again, a topic to discuss with your doctor. But that's actually a great question, because that's not to say that omega-3s may help play a role in managing diabetic risk factors or complications such as cardiovascular disease, with, again, a balanced diet focusing on consuming polyunsaturated fats to support lowering your LDL cholesterol risk and risk for overall heart disease and stroke. So I think in that regards, diabetes or the general population, we know that's beneficial, but unless you tag anything on there, Marta, no, to my knowledge, there's not strong evidence that supports omega-3 consumption plays a significant role in management or prevention of diabetes.
Yeah, I think you answered that quite well. Okay, I think we have time for one more question here. And that is more omega-3s necessarily better? In other words, will we see greater impacts on health if we eat higher amounts of omega-3?
Oh, this is a great question. It's that reminds me of too much of a good thing. So like I mentioned around that supplement topic, extremely high doses of omega-3s in combination with sources from our diet can obviously have negative side effects or an increased risk of some certain issues. And I think when it comes to health outcomes seen with omega-3s, rather than mega intakes in short bouts or sporadic consumption, and this is true for all nutrients, the goal is to have a consistent, long-term balanced intake, and not just, again, from omega-3s, but from other nutrients, big and small as well, to include all health-promoting foods in our diet. So I wouldn't say more is better. We want to, again, be doing our best to meet those recommendations and to have that consistent, balanced variety on our plates.
Yeah, great. Well, thank you very much. This has been excellent. And for all of you watching, thank you so much. You're going to be fed to a survey as soon as you exit this webinar. Please, we really appreciate it if you could fill out that survey. It gives us a lot of good information that we use for our future webinars. Thank you so much for joining us today. We really appreciate it. We hope you have the rest of a good week. Thank you.